Damian Lillard found out that nobody was going to love him like Portland.
He was miserable for, at risk of overstating it, in Milwaukee. So this is great in that regard.
When Dame confirmed his return to Portland, NBA stars didn't hold back. Dwane Wade, no stranger to the heartbreak of leaving home, spoke up. Giannis hinted at possible locker room beefs, and one player's single word exposed the brutal truth about loyalty in today's NBA. Here's how NBA stars reacted. Let's start with Dwane Wade. When NBA legends speak, the basketball world listens. And when Dwane Wade, a three-time NBA champion and Finals MVP, publicly endorsed Damian Lillard's return to Portland, it carried the weight of someone who truly understood the journey Dame was undertaking. On July 17, 2025, at 22:20 UTC, Wade took to X with a message that perfectly encapsulated the sentiment surrounding Lillard's homecoming.
And former NBA superstar Dwane Wade tweeted, quote, "Dame Dollar back where he should be. At Trailblazers got it right."
This wasn't just a casual comment from a retired player scrolling through social media. This was a deliberate, thoughtful endorsement from someone who had walked a remarkably similar path. The parallels between Wade and Lillard's career trajectories are striking and provide crucial context for understanding why Wade's reaction resonated so deeply with fans and players alike. Wade, much like Lillard, had spent the majority of his career with one franchise, the Miami Heat, from 2003 to 2016, where he became not just a player, but an institution. He led the Heat to 3 championships, became the face of the franchise, and built an unbreakable bond with the city of Miami. But then came the inevitable crossroads that many aging superstars face. Contract disputes led Wade to leave Miami in 2016, joining the Chicago Bulls for what many hoped would be a championship run. However, like Lillard's experience in Milwaukee, Wade's time away from his basketball home proved to be less than fulfilling. After a brief stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2017, Wade made the decision that would define the final chapter of his career. He returned to Miami in February 2018 via a mid-season trade. The timing of Wade's tweet, coming just 2 days before Lillard's official signing, also demonstrated his insight into the situation. As someone who had navigated similar waters, Wade could see the writing on the wall and understood that Portland was always going to be Lillard's true basketball home, regardless of what other opportunities might have presented themselves. The public response to Wade's tweet revealed the polarized nature of opinion surrounding Lillard's decision. Supportive fans embraced Wade's message with heart, the emojis and agreement, while others questioned whether Lillard should have prioritized winning a championship with a contender over returning to a rebuilding Portland team. But Wade's perspective, informed by his own successful homecoming that culminated in a fulfilling end to his career, suggested that there are different ways to define success in the twilight of a Hall of Fame career.
Malika, over a dozen teams made minimum and mid-level exception offers to Damian Lillard. 2 teams in particular, I'm told, that Damian Lillard really considered, and that's the Boston Celtics and the Minnesota Timberwolves. He held calls with both teams at different points. But to be in Portland, back home, with his 3 young kids, that was by far the most important factor, I was told, in his return to the Trailblazers.
What makes Wade's endorsement even more meaningful is his understanding of the business side of basketball. Having navigated contract negotiations, trade demands, and the complex emotions that come with potentially leaving a franchise you love, Wade's approval carried the authority of someone who had lived through similar experiences. His tweet wasn't just about basketball. It was about recognizing the value of loyalty, family, and finishing your career on your own terms. If Dwane Wade's reaction carried the weight of experience and parallel journeys, then CJ McCollum's response came straight from the heart of brotherhood. CJ McCollum. When McCollum commented 3 heart emojis on Lillard's Instagram post, he wasn't just reacting as a fellow NBA player. He was responding as someone who had shared nearly a decade of triumphs, heartbreaks, and unforgettable moments alongside Dame in Portland. The history between McCollum and Lillard reads like a basketball fairy tale. From 2013 to 2022, these 2 guards formed one of the most dynamic and beloved backcourt duos in the NBA. They weren't just teammates, they were partners in the truest sense, complementing each other's games while building a friendship that transcended basketball. Together, they led the Blazers to 8 consecutive playoff appearances, including that magical run to the 2019 Western Conference Finals that will forever be etched in Trailblazers lore. McCollum's 3 heart emojis, while simple in appearance, spoke volumes about the depth of their relationship. This wasn't a calculated public relations response or a generic show of support. It was pure, unfiltered emotion from someone who understood better than anyone what returning to Portland meant to Lillard. The comment quickly garnered over 1,500 likes, demonstrating how fans appreciated seeing this authentic authentic display of brotherhood. To understand the significance of McCollum's reaction, we need to revisit the journey these two players shared in Portland. When McCollum was drafted by the Blazers in 2013, he joined a team anchored by Lillard, who was fresh off his Rookie of the Year campaign. What followed was nearly a decade of basketball excellence, highlighted by clutch performances, playoff battles, and moments that defined not just their careers, but the identity of the Trail Blazers franchise. The duo's most memorable achievement came during the 2019 playoffs, when they helped lead Portland to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2000. McCollum averaged over 20 points per game during that postseason run, while Lillard delivered some of the most iconic moments in NBA playoff history, including his series-clinching buzzer beater against the Oklahoma City Thunder. These shared experiences created bonds that extended far beyond the basketball court. Their partnership was about more than just on-court chemistry. Both players embraced Portland in ways that many superstars never embraced their cities. They became integral parts of the community, understanding that being a Trailblazer meant something special to the people of Oregon. This shared commitment to the city and its fans created a connection that made McCollum's emotional response to Lillard's return feel inevitable. When McCollum was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans in February 2022, it marked the end of an era in Portland. The backcourt that had defined Blazers basketball for nearly a decade was split up, and fans wondered if they would ever see that magic again. McCollum's subsequent move to the Washington Wizards in June 2025 further emphasized how much the basketball landscape had changed since their Portland days. But bonds forged through shared struggles and triumphs don't simply disappear when players change uniforms. McCollum's heart emoji response demonstrated that his connection to Lillard remained as strong as ever. In a 2022 NBA interview, McCollum had described Lillard as, "My guy. He'll always be my guy regardless of what team I'm playing on." And his reaction to the homecoming proved those words weren't just empty sentiment. Interestingly, McCollum's response also sparked speculation about his own future. Unverified reports surfaced suggesting that McCollum might be seeking a trade from Washington to Portland to reunite with Lillard, though these claims remained unsubstantiated by reputable sources. Whether or not there's truth to these rumors, the very fact that such speculation arose demonstrates how much fans and media recognize the special connection between these two players. McCollum's reaction also highlighted the different paths that NBA careers can take. While Lillard was returning to his basketball home, McCollum was continuing his journey with a third different franchise, still searching for that elusive championship that had escaped them during their Portland years. His emotional support for Lillard's decision suggested a mature understanding that sometimes the best choice isn't always about chasing rings. Sometimes it's about finding peace and happiness in the place where you belong. In an era where social media reactions can often feel manufactured or overly calculated, our next entry's response to Damian Lillard's return to Portland cut through the noise with remarkable simplicity and authenticity. Buddy Hield. When the Golden State Warriors sharpshooter commented real on ESPN insider Shams Charania's Instagram post announcing Lillard's 3-year contract with the Blazers, those 4 letters carried more weight than paragraphs of elaborate praise might have. The beauty of Hield's reaction lies not just in its brevity, but in what that single word represents in modern basketball culture. When a player calls something real, they're acknowledging authenticity in a sport that's increasingly dominated by calculated decisions, super team formations, and ring-chasing mentalities. Hield was essentially saying that Lillard's choice to return to Portland, rather than joining a championship contender for a minimum salary, was genuine and true to who Lillard is as both a player and a person. The context surrounding Hield's comment makes it even more meaningful. As a member of the Golden State Warriors, Hield was uniquely positioned to understand the allure of what Lillard was potentially giving up. Speculation had swirled that Lillard, an Oakland native, could have signed with the Warriors to play alongside Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and the rest of a championship-caliber roster. For many aging superstars, the opportunity to join such a proven winner would have been irresistible. But Lillard chose differently, and Hield's real comment suggested he respected that choice immensely. Coming from a player who had himself experienced the journey through different franchises, from the Sacramento Kings to the Indiana Pacers to the Philadelphia 76 ERs before landing with Golden State, Hield understood the different motivations that drive career decisions. His comment implied that while many players might have chosen the easier path to a potential championship, Lillard's decision to prioritize family, legacy, and personal happiness was the more authentic choice. The timing and platform of Hield's comment also added to its impact. Rather than making his own separate post or giving a lengthy interview about Lillard's decision, Hield chose to respond directly to the news as it broke, commenting on Charania's post alongside thousands of other fans and players. This approach made his reaction feel organic and spontaneous rather than calculated for maximum publicity. Hield's perspective as a fellow elite shooter also brings another dimension to his appreciation of Lillard's decision. Both Both players have built their careers on their ability to score from anywhere on the court, and both understand the unique pressures that come with being known primarily for one specific skill set. Hield has experienced firsthand how the league's perception of a player can evolve, and how important it is to find situations where you're valued for who you are, rather than just what you can provide in limited minutes. The Warriors' connection adds another layer of intrigue to Hield's reaction. Golden State was coming off a second-round playoff exit in 2025, and adding a player of Lillard's caliber, even at 35 years old and coming off an Achilles injury, could have significantly boosted their championship aspirations. Warriors fans had expressed hope that Lillard might sign with Golden State, making Hield's positive reaction to the Portland decision somewhat surprising to those expecting disappointment. But rather than showing any hint of disappointment about a missed opportunity, Hield's comment suggested genuine admiration for Lillard's choice. This reaction speaks to the respect that players have for teammates and competitors who prioritize personal values over purely basketball considerations. In a league where players are often criticized for either being too loyal or not loyal enough, Hield's response acknowledged that sometimes the real choice is the one that feels right in your heart, regardless of what others might think strategically makes the most sense. The viral nature of Hield's comment, as reported by multiple major sports outlets, also demonstrated how hungry fans and media were for authentic reactions to this story. In an age where most player responses feel filtered through public relations teams, Hield's simple authenticity stood out and resonated with people who appreciated seeing a genuine human reaction to what was ultimately a very human decision. Hield's real comment ultimately served as a microcosm of the broader basketball community's reaction to Lillard's return. Respect for a player who chose authenticity over ambition, family over fame, and heart over hardware. Sometimes the most powerful statements are made without words. In our next entry, Giannis Antetokounmpo's reaction to Damian Lillard's return to Portland exemplified this perfectly. Giannis Antetokounmpo. While the two-time MVP didn't release any public statements or give interviews about his former teammates' decision, his actions on social media spoke volumes about their relationship and his feelings toward Lillard's homecoming. On July 17, 2025, as news of Lillard's return spread across the basketball world, Giannis made two quiet but significant gestures on Instagram. He liked Lillard's post announcing his return to Rip City and reposted an image of Lillard's new Adidas signature shoe on his own account. These actions, while subtle, carried deep meaning for those who understood the context of their relationship and the circumstances surrounding Lillard's departure from Milwaukee. To fully appreciate the significance of Giannis's response, we need to understand the journey he and Lillard shared during their brief but intense time as teammates. When the Milwaukee Bucks acquired Lillard in September 2023, it represented the culmination of years of effort to surround Giannis with the elite talent necessary to compete for multiple championships. The pairing was supposed to create an unstoppable offensive force. Giannis's dominant interior presence combined with Lillard's elite perimeter scoring and playmaking. The reality, however, proved more challenging than the theory. While Lillard averaged solid numbers during his time in Milwaukee, 24.6 points, 7.0 assists, and 4.6 rebounds across 131 regular season games, the duo faced obstacles that prevented them from reaching their championship aspirations. Injuries, including Lillard's eventual Achilles tear and back-to-back first-round playoff exits to the Indiana Pacers, dampened expectations and led to the eventual roster reshuffling that saw Lillard wave. The circumstances surrounding Lillard's departure from Milwaukee add crucial context to Giannis' subtle show of support. Reports indicated that Giannis was not pleased with the Bucks' decision to waive Lillard, with NBA insider Chris Haynes clarifying that Giannis' displeasure was directed at the coldness and manner of the move rather than the basketball decision itself. This context makes Giannis' Instagram actions even more meaningful. They represented his way of showing support for a player he respected, even if he couldn't publicly criticize his own organization's decision. The relationship between Giannis and Lillard extended beyond just their on-court partnership. In early 2024, Giannis had publicly expressed his commitment to his teammates, stating, "I'm his biggest fan, good or bad, I ride with Dame until the F-ing end." This quote, while predating Lillard's 2025 return to Portland, provides insight into the genuine respect and friendship that developed between the two superstars during their time together. Giannis's Instagram activity also needs to be understood within the context of his typically measured approach to social media. Unlike some NBA stars who are very vocal about their opinions on various basketball matters, Giannis tends to be more reserved in his public statements, making his visible support for Lillard's Instagram post more significant. The fact that he chose to repost Lillard's shoe imagery rather than just liking the return announcement suggests a deliberate effort to show ongoing support for his former teammates' brand and career. The basketball community's interpretation of Giannis's actions varied, with some fans and media members speculating about what his reaction might mean for his own future in Milwaukee. Social media posts from fans suggested that Giannis's frustration with Lillard's waiver could influence his own long-term commitment to the Bucks, though these were largely speculation rather than based on any direct statements from Giannis himself. What makes Giannis's reaction particularly noteworthy is how it contrasted with the more vocal responses from other NBA players. While Dwane Wade, CJ McCollum, and others made their support explicitly clear through comments and tweets, Giannis chose a more understated approach that aligned with his personality while still conveying respect and support. This difference in approach highlighted how various players express solidarity in their own unique ways. The fact that Giannis chose to support Lillard's decision rather than express any disappointment about potentially losing a championship opportunity also speaks to his maturity and understanding of the human elements of professional sports. At 30 years old and having already achieved significant success, including an NBA championship and Finals MVP award, Giannis demonstrated an appreciation for the personal factors that influence career decisions, even when those decisions might not align with pure basketball considerations. When this next entry weighs in on NBA matters, the basketball world pays attention, not just because of his Hall of Fame caliber playing career, but because of his unique perspective as someone who isn't afraid to offer unfiltered commentary on the business and emotional sides of professional basketball. Gilbert Arenas. The reaction of Gilbert Arenas to Damian Lillard's journey from Milwaukee back to Portland provided a fascinating multi-layered analysis that touched on everything from financial implications to personal happiness. Arenas' most comprehensive reaction came through his Gil's Arena podcast in a YouTube episode titled Damian Lillard Dumped by the Bucks Stuns Gil's Arena, published on July 1st, 2025. His initial response focused on the Milwaukee Bucks' decision to waive Lillard, and his surprise was palpable as he processed the financial and strategic implications of the move, Arenas observed, highlighting the complex financial web the Bucks had created for themselves. The team was already paying money to former coaches, and now they were adding Lillard's stretch contract, $22 million per year for the next 5 years, to their books. This business-minded perspective showcased Arenas' understanding of how NBA franchises operate beyond just the basketball court. Despite his confusion about the strategic wisdom of the move, Arenas expressed genuine happiness for Lillard's newfound freedom. "I'm happy for Dame. You know, he gets his money. He actually has a chance now to actually go where he wants to go," he stated, recognizing that sometimes what appears to be a setback can actually be an opportunity in disguise. Arenas' analysis extended to speculation about Lillard's future options, demonstrating his deep understanding of NBA dynamics. He suggested that Lillard could pursue ring chasing with a one-year deal, specifically mentioning potential destinations like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Miami Heat, or Golden State Warriors. This showed Arenas' appreciation for the strategic possibilities that Lillard's situation presented, even as he acknowledged the challenges an aging player with a major injury might face. When it came to Lillard's actual decision to return to Portland, Arenas expressed support through his reaction to Lillard's Instagram post, joining other former NBA stars like Dwane Wade and Eddy Curry in celebrating the homecoming. While the specific content of his Instagram comment wasn't detailed in available sources, his positive reaction aligned with the broader sentiment from the basketball community. What makes Arenas' perspective particularly valuable is his dual role as both a former player and current media personality. Having played 11 seasons in the NBA and experienced his own share of career ups and downs, Arenas understands the emotional toll that comes with major career decisions. His current position as a podcast host and commentator also gives him insight into how these stories resonate with fans and media. Arenas' reaction also reflected his broader philosophy about player empowerment and the importance of making decisions that prioritize personal happiness. Throughout his playing career and media career, Arenas has been an advocate for players taking control of their narratives and making choices that serve their best interests, even when those choices might not make sense to outside observers. The financial aspect of Arenas' analysis also demonstrated his understanding of how modern NBA contracts work. His recognition that Lillard would be earning $70 million between his Bucks salary and Blazers salary during the 2025-26 season showed his appreciation for how players can sometimes benefit financially from situations that initially appear disadvantageous. Arenas' overall reaction painted a picture of someone who understood that Lillard's journey was about more than just basketball. While he acknowledged the strategic basketball considerations, potential championship opportunities, roster fits, competitive windows, he also recognized the human elements that ultimately drove Lillard's decision to return to Portland. In the constellation of reactions to Damian Lillard's return to Portland, our next entry's response might have been the most understated, yet it represented something important about the broader NBA community's appreciation for loyalty and authentic career decisions. Eddy Curry. The former NBA center, who played 11 seasons in the league, primarily with the Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks, joined other former players in expressing support for Lillard's decision through social media. Curry's reaction came in the form of a supportive response to Lillard's Instagram post announcing his return to the Trailblazers. While the specific content of his comment wasn't detailed in available reports, his participation in the broader wave of positive reactions from former NBA players demonstrated the respect that Lillard commands across different generations of basketball players. To understand the significance of Curry's reaction, it's important to consider his own career journey and how it might have shaped his perspective on Lillard's decision. Drafted 4th overall by the Chicago Bulls in the 2001 NBA draft, Curry entered the league with enormous expectations as a highly skilled big man with the potential to dominate in the paint. Over his 11-season career, he averaged 12.9 points and 5.2 rebounds per game, experiencing both the highs of being a key contributor and the challenges of navigating the business side of professional basketball. Curry's career took him through multiple franchises, including stops with the Bulls, Knicks, Miami Heat, and Dallas Mavericks. This journey through different organizations likely gave him an appreciation for the rarity of what Lillard built in Portland, a genuine connection with a city and fan base that transcended basketball performance. Having experienced the transient nature of NBA careers, Curry would understand the special significance of a player choosing to return to the place where his legacy was established. The timing of Curry's reaction also speaks to the viral nature of Lillard's return announcement. Lillard's Instagram post garnered 34,000 likes in its first 15 minutes, indicating the massive interest and emotional investment that fans and players had in this story. Curry's participation in this moment represented the genuine excitement that the basketball community felt about seeing one of the league's most respected players return home. While Curry has maintained a relatively low public profile since retiring from professional basketball, his decision to publicly react to Lillard's return suggests that this story resonated with him on a personal level. In an era where many former players remain active on social media but are selective about which topics they choose to engage with, Curry's reaction indicated that Lillard's homecoming was something special enough to warrant public acknowledgement. The fact that Curry's reaction was grouped alongside those of more prominent former players like Dwane Wade and Gilbert Arenas also highlights how Lillard's return crossed generational and status lines within the NBA community. Whether you were a Hall of Fame superstar or a solid role player, whether you were still active in media or had stepped away from the spotlight, Lillard's decision to prioritize family and legacy over championship chasing resonated with players who understood the difficult choices that define NBA careers. Curry's response also needs to be understood within the context of the broader conversation about player loyalty and franchise relationships. Having played during an era when player movement was less common than it is today, Curry would have a unique appreciation for the rarity of a player like Lillard, who spent 11 years with one franchise and chose to return after experiencing life elsewhere. The understated nature of Curry's reaction, while perhaps not generating headlines like some of the more prominent responses, actually adds to its authenticity. This wasn't a calculated public relations move or an attempt to insert himself into a trending story. It was simply a former player acknowledging what appeared to be a good decision by someone he respected. In many ways, Curry's reaction represented the silent majority of NBA players and former players who appreciated Lillard's choice without feeling the need to make grand statements about it. His participation in the celebratory moment demonstrated that respect for authentic career decisions transcends individual fame levels or current media presence. The final reaction in our comprehensive look at NBA players' responses to Damian Lillard's return comes from Maurice Harkas, and it carries a unique significance because it represents the perspective of someone who was actually there during some of Lillard's most memorable moments in a Portland uniform. Maurice Harkas. As someone who played alongside Lillard from 2015 to 2019, Harkas reacted positively to Lillard's Instagram announcement, adding his voice to the chorus of former teammates and NBA players celebrating Dame's homecoming. Harkless's reaction carries special weight because he was present for what many consider the golden era of Lillard's Trailblazers career. During their 4 seasons together, Harkas witnessed firsthand the evolution of Lillard from an all-star guard to a legitimate superstar capable of carrying a franchise on his shoulders. More importantly, he was there for the magical 2019 playoff run that saw Portland reach the Western Conference Finals, including Lillard's iconic series-ending buzzer beater against the Oklahoma City Thunder that sent shockwaves through the basketball world. As a defensive-minded wing player who averaged 6.9 points and 3.5 rebounds over his 621-game NBA career, Harkas understood better than most how rare it was to play alongside a player of Lillard's caliber. His role on those Portland teams was to provide defensive stability and complementary scoring, allowing superstars like Lillard and C.J. McCollum to focus on what they did best. This experience gave him an intimate understanding of Lillard's leadership style, work ethic, and genuine connection to the Portland community. The fact that Harkless chose to react publicly to Lillard's return is particularly meaningful when you consider his own journey since leaving Portland. After his time with the Trail Blazers, Harkless played for the Miami Heat, New York Knicks, Los Angeles Clippers, and Sacramento Kings before eventually joining the Rip City Remix, Portland's G League affiliate, in 2023. This path through multiple organizations likely gave him an even greater appreciation for the special culture and connection that existed in Portland. Harkless's recent connection to the Rip City Remix also adds another layer to his reaction. Even after his NBA playing days were behind him, he chose to return to the Portland organization in some capacity, suggesting that the bonds formed during his time with the Trail Blazers remained strong long after his departure. This decision to stay connected to the Portland basketball family demonstrates the same kind of loyalty and appreciation for organizational culture that drove Lillard's decision to return. The shared experiences between Harkless and Lillard during those crucial Portland years create a foundation of mutual respect that makes Harkless's reaction particularly authentic. He was in the locker room when Lillard delivered clutch performances, witnessed the preparation and dedication that went into Lillard's legendary playoff moments, and saw how Lillard interacted with teammates, coaches, and the community on a daily basis. This intimate knowledge of who Lillard is as both a player and a person gives Harkless's support special credibility. Harkless's perspective also represents the viewpoint of role players throughout the NBA who understand how rare it is to play alongside a superstar who genuinely cares about his teammates and the organization. During his 4 seasons in Portland, Harkless was part of a culture that emphasized team-first basketball and mutual respect, values that were largely established and maintained by Lillard's leadership. His reaction to Lillard's return suggests an appreciation for the opportunity to have been part of something special. As fans, we're privileged to witness not just the basketball excellence that players like Lillard provide, but also the character and values they represent. The reactions we've explored today remind us that behind every highlight reel and statistical achievement are real people making complex decisions about their lives, careers, and legacies. When those decisions are made with authenticity and integrity, as Lillard's clearly was, they deserve to be celebrated by everyone who loves this beautiful game. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.